There you go.
Okay, so first things, you put your blue tape around the outside, stops the paper buckling, but it also gives you a nice neat edge when you peel it off at the end of the day. Okay, so, and it's nice to get that feeling when you take it off and think, oh, that looks right. So we're going to put fresh water from the top, left to right, right to left, all the way down so that your paper gets a good soaking. All right, and that should tighten up the paper a little, but it also means because we're doing water, and water is very fluid, you are going to find that when we're painting on it, you won't be getting as many hard, crisp edges at the start as you might otherwise if you went straight in. So we need to let that dry.
Particularly just do horizontal strokes? Was that
it just is the whole approach that we're going to be using is generally left to right, because when you look at water, because water levels itself out, you're normally looking at horizontal lines running through it. Okay. Now, when the wind hits it, it does change direction and it does things, you know, and if it's running down a hill, it might hit a stone and go off. But generally, if you were looking over at the sea, you'd see a straight horizon. So think of it like that to start with. I think if I'm painting other watercolours, if I'm doing flowers or something, I might do it vertically.
Or hash it.
But I'm quite happy with it this way. And I don't know whether you can see on here already, there is some buckling going along here. Yeah, so it is.
We can see it.
Okay. That is the one disadvantage of this particular brush, is it holds a lot more water than I ever think about. And it's had a lot of use. You can see it's not in terribly good condition, but it does the job. So that's that one. Right, I shan't be using that one again for a while, so I'll put that out of the way. So while we're letting that dry away, I just wanted to run through a couple of things about the old, water. Water and reflections is what we were doing. So I've got a pen here, and what I want you to sort of think about is when we're drawing or painting water, it's all about the reflections from the sky hitting the surface of the water. So I just wanted to explain that if you have a little person, that's my little person's head, sitting on a stool here with their artist board, right, give them some arms, they're drawing, and that's their chair, okay, and they're on the edge of a lake, let's say, okay, and over here at the far side, there's a field with a post on it, all right? We're putting the water, first of all, because we know water always levels itself out if it's left on its own, and that will give you a horizontal line. Now, if the light is coming from behind there, and the water is flat, if you look in a mirror and you held up a pencil, you get a flat reflection, okay? So if the water is flat, you will get a flat reflection. That makes sense, doesn't it? You've seen that before.
Yeah.
Right. Second example, though, is, well, what happens if the winds hit it and you get waves in the water, okay? So there's our person sitting there with their art bit, and, you know, there's the wall. And this time, we've got some water with some movement in. Now, this time, we've still got the same post, but what happens? Again, you've got the light coming in here. But if you think about it, each of these ripples has got an up and down curve on it. Yeah?
Yeah.
So as the light hits here and the image is transferred over to the water, or the shadow is put onto the water, what you're going to get is the light will hit the top. So the top bit is white because the light is hitting it. Okay. But in the groove down here is the shadow, and you will pick up on each part of the wave or the ripple a little bit more. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's why you get light and shade in your ripples or in the sea, in anything that's moving around. Okay? So that's just a little bit to think about when you're doing, you know, when you're trying to work out, because sometimes it's really confusing. Where's the light coming from? Should the shadow be at the front or behind? If you think back to that, it will help you think your way through it.
Excellent.
Okay. Now, tell me, how's your papers doing? Are they drying off a bit yet, or are they still quite wet?
A bit wet at
Very
the bottom,
dry.
dry at the top.
Mine's quite dry.
Yours is quite dry. Okay. Well, everybody else's, how's it going?
Dry at the top, wet at the bottom.
Yeah, mine is still wet, so I'm going to take a little bit of water off with the tissue because I don't want it too wet.
Mine's like completely dry, so should I wet it again?
Yeah, wet it again.
Yeah, that's the news and sunshine for you.
Yeah, that's Yorkshire.
Okay. Right, well, first thing I'm going to do, I need to ask a question about the types of papers that we're using around the area. Megan, how would you describe your paper? Has it got a very smooth surface, or has it got what we call tooth? Is it a bit rough?
Smooth.
Yours is smooth. Okay, Francis?
Smooth.
Smooth. Kathy?
Roughish, not smooth.
Not smooth, I'll call that rough then. Mary?
Rough.
Rough. June?
Movish.
Who knows? Who knows? Okay. Rita?
Rough, more rough than smooth.
And Lydia?
Slightly rough.
Slightly rough, okay. Well, what I was going to start with is, well, I think what I'd better start with is get you to put an outline of what the overall big picture is going to look like on your paper. And then I'm going to tackle the horizon first, like Francis did last week, and work our way down. So for the painting itself, I'm using a brown Conti pencil, okay? So it's like a brown chalky thing, but you can use a very light, just a very light colour. Like Francis does, watercolour pencils is really nice. This is not a detailed drawing. I just want you to put in a horizon line. Okay.
You need to find your picture first.
Which picture?
The one you're painting.
Ah, you're painting along with me, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or are you painting a different one?
I'm
Okay.
painting along with you. And I haven't got a watercolour pencil, I'm just using an ordinary.
Just an ordinary pencil would do fine. Okay. On the left-hand side, put in something. That's going to be maybe a outcrop of rocks. Okay.
And Eileen, we're all doing the exact same as you now, aren't we?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Then you can do your own one in a bit.
Oh, I've started.
Or you can try and do it as we go along, taking the techniques and applying them to your picture, if that's not too complicated.
Yeah, we'll try that. Whichever we want to do, all right.
Okay, but you'll see what comes out of this, those who are painting along with this. All right, one horizon, one outcrop on the left here. At the bottom, I want you to do a curly sort of line, not straight, down there.
Is that Land of Waves, Eileen? Just out of curiosity.
No, that's that. I'll explain what it will be rather than reveal it as we go along.
Okay.
At the top here, we're going to do wet in wet, and we're going to have some distant land. Okay. We're then going to have glitter. The reason that I've chosen this combination is the glitter line is where you have a lot of direct sunlight coming straight down and you don't get reflection, but you do get a lot of glitter. You've seen it on the seaside, haven't you? Far out at sea, you think, oh, how do they get a like mirror shining like that? I'll show you how to do that. I can do it with wet and dry brush so we can see the difference there. This outcrop of rocks is here because below it we're going to do some of the different types, how to get reflection and how to see through water. Okay, so you get a depth in your water and you'll get reflection. This middle bit, if you again looked out at sea, you could see the line of the horizon unless it's foggy, and it's very distant, you can't make it out, but gradually it becomes more and more clear. But this bit in the middle, so maybe 500 yards out to a couple of miles out, this is the midsection. You can make a few things out, you can reflections of clouds, things like that you might get in here, okay? But then coming forward, we have, the closer you get, the more of the distinct patterns of the water, I'm not saying waves now, patterns of the water would be in this sort of area because it's becoming clearer. And then at the front here, I was going to do rolling waves, but I think we'll do that as a little together demo on the side, as it were, because if you've got cool, calm water here, your front isn't going to suddenly have breaking waves. So at the front, we're going to have some cool water. We're going to have a frothy edge. So there will be water movement here that gives you a frothy edge. And then we're going to have how the sand hits the shore. Does that sound all right? You're with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. Well, let's get a bit of paint on first of all. Let's do the classic watercolour thing. What I want you to do is a very light wash just above the line. Do not touch your line, in a light yellow. And I'm going for a lemon yellow. Okay, I've just got my watercolour painter. That's my lemon yellow, and I'm mixing it right down. Okay.
Above the horizon, are you talking
Above
about?
the horizon. But what I want you to do, right, keep as much water on the brush as possible. Very, very light, because this is just going to be a tint of the colour. We don't want it bright yellow, just a tint of the colour. Okay. All right. And up here, as I say, there's a gap between this line and where my yellow started. Okay. Now, with watercolour, you can, what they call glaze it, you can go back in with the colour, you know, other colours over the top because it's transparent paint. You can do that. So if this ends up too light or we change our mind, we want it a different time of the day, we could alter that. But it gives us a focus now of where we've got a sky. And I'm doing it as well because most people paint their skies blue, but actually yellow is quite an effective sky. A certain
Eileen, when I'm watching the demo thingy, I can't quite see where the yellow is. Can you just put your brush back to show us? Because
yes.
it's very pale on the
yes.
bright and
You
sunny.
see the tip of my brush comes down to here.
Okay,
I think mine's a lot yellower than yours. Obviously, I didn't put enough.
That's fine. Remember, your watercolour is going to fade back 20 to 40%. I mean, huge amount of fade back goes on. You'll hardly be able to notice it later on. Okay. Have you all got a bit of something up there?
Yeah.
In the wrong place, but it'll move.
Okay, the next thing I want you to do, I'm going to use something called Prussian blue. So, and again, you won't be able to tell the colours in my palette here, but it's, if you're definitely using watercolours, most of your watercolour blues will be transparent. It's just how much they leave as a stain afterwards. Prussian blue is a good one because I did a little thing here to show you. Somewhere. Yeah, might be worth looking at. These are the colours that are actually in my palette, so you can see them. And can you see this line across here? All I did was put the watercolour onto a spare piece of paper, let it dry off, okay? Tilted it a bit so I could see when it was lighter and when it's darker. But then I just put a line of water through it and dabbed, not pulled, dabbed it off to see how much of the white I could get back. Okay? So if you're using Prussian blue, there's a good reason for using it. It moves around a lot, and you can, if you haven't gone too dark with it, you can go back to you know, remove some of the colour.
Okay, on your thing across there, which one's the Prussian blue?
The third one in.
One.
The deepest one.
How would I describe it? It's...
Point to it, Eileen.
Sorry?
Point to it.
Point to it rather than say third one in, because it depends which way.
Yeah.
That one. Okay. Yeah.
It's got a bit of turquoise in it.
Oh, turquoise is down at here.
Yeah. So I don't want to use that one.
Turquoise. The
And the
really
other one
nice
is cobalt.
sparkling blue is ultramarina.
And show me cobalt blue. Which one's
I
that?
haven't got cobalt blue in my collection on here.
Okay, so I think it's that one. Okay, I think I know which one it is. That one.
Okay. So it's really quite a dark, heavy. Think of industrial Russia blue. It's a good way of thinking about Prussia.
Anyway, Do we want this darker and watery?
Right, back to the wash. Right, I'm putting the wash from the top of my page all the way down. It can go through that thing over there.
Oh, so
Left, right, all the way down.
But not the sky, Eileen, just from the horizon down.
Just from the horizon and come down. And the further towards the front you get, gradually you'll have it getting darker, is what we want.
Oh my goodness, you're really washing it watery. Okay.
Okay, so can you see that? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep, because my paper's now got to the point where it suddenly started to dry. Okay, I'm coming down there. Because I've done this with a dark pencil so that you can actually see it, it's going to be a bit darker than you would normally do it, but don't worry about that. Right, and because I wanted this bit a bit darker, there I've put this in. See at the front there, getting that quite a bit darker. And remember, it will dry off again. Okay?
You've left your sand undone, haven't you? Yeah.
And then while you're at it, clean your brush. And do you know below the line here, while we're there, we might as well put in a wash of some yellow. And the cadmium yellow is the big bright yellow. Right, cadmium yellow is sort of, it's this solid, it's very, very solid as a colour. So you want something that's a bit ochre or Naples yellow or a yellow, an orangey yellow. Does you see that colour?
Are you saying not to use cadmium?
Not to use cadmium at this point. Cadmium stains the paper. It doesn't move around as much as some of the other colours. Mine doesn't.
But an ochre is all right.
Yeah. Ochre. Okay. Right. So you've at least now got an idea of where the overall shape of the picture is. Okay. Again, we're going to let that settle. Now, if you notice here, I've got a puddle coming on, and here I've got a rather crooked line. That's fine. Water, there are no two pieces of water that are ever the same twice. Okay, so if it moves, that's great, because that's what water does. Okay, and it goes in places you never want it, so that's good too. Right, meanwhile, when you're happy with that, to let that start drying, okay, if people have got a very, very sharp, at the top here, sorry, at the top, you see this is, for me, this is still drying a bit too blue, so I'm going to take out a bit of that colour below that line. And I can just wipe it out. You see how cleanly that comes off? What? The horizon line, if so it's at this stage still too wet or too very blue, you want it almost to be as discreet a colour as you've painted the yellow sky, a very light colour.
Sorry, Eileen, but what are you wiping that with? Just
plain kitchen tissue. Roll.
What, dry?
Or kitchen tissue. Dry, yeah.
Dry. Mine again, because it had...
Oh, I put water on, yeah.
Okay. Well, it would...
I think, was it, Eileen? Mine had dry, so I had to wet it again.
Well, I wanted that top bit dry because I'm going to show you how to do the glitter water in a bit. But because it does need to dry a little bit more, I think we can, if you're all up to that stage where you can stand back and see the shapes and you can see a light yellow sky, a light coloured bit of water parallel to the rock on the side, and then it gradually gets darker towards the front. And then you've got your yellow at the front.
Mine isn't get darking towards the front, so should I add to that then?
Yes. While it's still wet, you can add to it.
If you use kitchen towel, be careful because you might get the pattern imprinting the picture.
Yeah.
Are we talking from experience, Francis?
No. Yes.
Right. Okay. So for those of you who'd like to do something else for just a couple of minutes, we'll do our first mini demo, right? Mini demo. So hopefully you've got a piece of board or something.
Uh-huh.
And because we're doing a seascape, this demo is going to be, clear your mind of the sea for the minute, this is going to be a bit of water with the rain on it, and you're going to get in puddles.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Okay, so you can drop puddles into one of your pictures. So get one of your squares, all right? For me, I'm going to do that one for you. Okay. Using the same colours or any other blues that you've got, I'm just going to do a watery up there, first of all. Just do the corner in a bit of blue.
Any old blue, the blue we've got already.
Yeah, quite wet. And it's great if the edges are wet. And you can even wet your paper and bring it down. Okay, you can go in any direction you like with this one. Okay, and then in the bottom corner,
all over, Eileen?
Pardon?
I can't really see because it's very bright in my house in summertime. Have you done that blue all over?
No, just the top right-hand corner. So it's indicating upwards.
Okay, so I've got that blue.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe if I paint a bit heavier, might be better for you. So, whoa. Now,
That's heavier.
That's when I put it on too much.
That's
so
a little bit heavier.
But that's good, Eileen. Yeah, that's working very well.
Okay, and in the other corner, just choose any other colour, a light purple or a brownish colour, or even mix the two if you feel like it, and just put something over here. All right? Bottom left corner, diagonally coming down. So this triangle.
A space in the middle.
Yeah, doesn't need to be any particular shape. Now again, the quicker this dries, the better.
You've just hidden, oh no you haven't. Okay, in the other corner.
Yeah.
Eileen, move it up a little bit, please.
Oh, that way.
No,
That way.
away from you. Away, that's it.
That's
and
good.
in a bit, that's it, that's perfect. Or thereabouts.
Yeah. Okay.
And we want that to dry.
Yeah. And while that's drying, on your palette, you're going to get a variety of colours. So, you know the dark colour that Prussian blue that was quite dark?
Yeah.
I've still got that on my palette. But I'm also going to put in a bit of a red colour into it, which will turn it grey. A grey purpley colour, okay? Next to it on my palette, I'm going to have it in a slightly more watered version. I've just added more water to make it thinner. So to make that really stand out, I'm going to I'm putting more red into the first colour. Are you doing that?
We're all here, Eileen.
I know, but am I working you too fast or too hard?
I want to know what you do with these colours.
Right, well, once you've got the two of them...
There's no giving her any surprises, is there, Eileen? She wants to know everything before she does it.
No.
Well, no, because I've got red at the bottom, so...
Now, if your paper is very wet, only because this is a demo, you don't need to worry about it, dab some of your colour off so the paper is drying a little bit more quickly, but you don't want it absolutely dry. So what you've got as your undercoat here is two interesting colours, really. Now, thinking about ripples, the thing to remember is going back to what we said at the start, which is if there are ripples, you're going to be getting peaks and troughs, so highlights and lowlights, okay? But the other thing to think about is if you're looking across a puddle, although we know if we drop some water onto some other water, the drop would create circles. If you're looking across it, those circles become ovals. But they're very rarely a complete oval. They're normally a bit of an oval, a gap, a bit of an oval, a bit of a gap, okay? So on your paper, you now need to do a series of these. And what I would suggest you do is using your darker colours up here, okay? And these are oval shapes. And try and vary where you have the gaps in your shapes. Okay. There's a couple going. My paper's still a bit wet, so it's spreading. So I might take a little bit more water off.
Are they getting bigger towards us? Are we doing perspective or anything? Or
They can get bigger towards you, although puddles come in varying sizes. There we are. That's a lot drier, that circle. But now that this is dry, okay, so you start off with a few at different sizes and different amounts of...
are you using a different colour now in the bottom left-hand corner, Eileen, or is it the same one?
No, it was still the dark colour, which was that mix of...
And in the middle, we haven't got anything, is that right?
Well, I'm going to put one here because they will be all over the surface. But what you want is them in a whole range of different places. There we are, that one's a bit...
Well, this is going to be fun.
Okay. Are you getting this jagged, you know, the edge that you're leaving spaces in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, once you've done one layer of that, then continue to put another
Smaller
layer
one
inside. Okay.
With the lighter colour.
Well, you can do darker and lighter. The whole idea is you'll use different colours throughout the... So I'm going to go lighter now. And around this one, I'm going outwards. So I'm going that way. And this one, I'm making a bit of a bigger puddle. Okay. And this one, a bit of a bigger puddle. Are you doing all right there, Megan? Yeah. And don't worry about them being regular shapes. They're very irregular. Okay. Can you start to see your puddles beginning to form?
Yeah.
Okay. And then just do it again. Now, all of them should have, you know, some bit of movement in them. So just carry on, but leave some spaces below them. Next question would probably be, okay, but what happens where the two circles collide? Okay. So in here, for example, this outer ring here will collide with this ring here. Yeah? You just do a little V.
And what happens when they collide? Ah, a little V.
Little V there, and maybe one over here. But not all of them, just some of them. Sometimes you don't need to put anything. So there I'm not putting anything. Over here I've left a gap, so that might be a flat piece of water for some reason, so I'm just going to do a squiggle. So now, still leaving space, but as Rita said, at the back, tighter little things, little movements, and coming towards the front, bigger strokes. Okay, like that.
Are you doing circles, Eileen?
Sorry?
What are you actually doing?
I'm just doing that. Random,
lines.
Random wiggly lines. Okay, and that's becoming a little circle because it's just doing it itself. Right, you've nearly finished with this demo. Right, when that's dried, you will see it, but it won't look terribly 3D. Okay, and that's because although we've got some reflections from the blue and in my case the pink coming in down here, okay, what you haven't got is anything strong being reflected. So I'm now going to mix a really dark colour. So taking the red and the blue that I had, and I'm going to put a dark brown in there. Okay. If you're very daring, you might be able to put a little bit of black in there, not a lot. And then imagine that out of picture here, you've got a tree. Okay, you've got a tree there, or a building or something. And then what you're going to do is just pick up some of the darkness, okay, that is reflecting across the water. Okay? So you start to get a feel of something else going on in that side.
So Eileen, it's looking very pretty. I'm just a little bit, when you put the something's reflecting, I actually saw a shadow, but what you painted didn't reflect a particular shadow. So you know, like
it's just in your mind. Don't think of it as a solid object. It's just any old object is here.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing it, remember, on a day that's a bit choppy, because we've got choppy water being created by the ripples.
Okay.
So you won't get a straight reflection.
Okay. And were they new lines you drew in, or were they going over some of the circles, or a bit both?
Now, keep them around where you're imagining the puddles having highs and lows. You keep them parallel with your highs and lows. So they can go inside or they can go outside. It doesn't really matter. But it's that colour that's going to give this picture some form of depth. Okay. And then if you wanted, because you said, oh, do you paint over? Well, using my lighter colour, now that isn't dry enough to do it yet. So I'm going to just, for the purpose of this demo, take there.
You should be an expert at puddles. You get a bit of rain out there, don't you, Eileen?
Yeah. In here,
June would get that in Wales as well.
Okay. I've just put a hint of a darker colour over my pink.
But not as dark as we use for the reflection.
For the other side, no. Because what you want to do is constantly be having contrasts, but also balance, you know. Now, when this is dry, can you see down here, you've got one of my puddles. It's disappeared. It's absorbed into the thing. So I'll go back in with this colour and I'll just repaint that later on.
Eileen?
Yep.
We did the top corner with the background colour. We did the bottom corner with the background colour. What about the middle?
You left it completely without anything.
Yeah,
that's the light coming through.
Yes.
Mine.
That's the light.
Okay. All right. I think I left too big a space. That's all.
Okay. Now just use water to pull your colour out from the corner towards the middle. Clean water.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Right. This one you don't need to paint along with, but just bear with me because we're on puddles and it's sort of it's something that Rita touched on there. Right, I'm still using my Prussian blue and my, imagine this is a sidewalk, right? This is a sidewalk to nowhere.
They're called pavements.
Yeah, with a bit of reddy browny sort of in there, because this is going to be a wet pavement, all right? Okay, and if there's a pavement, there's normally a road of some type. So let's just put a road that disappears up here somewhere. Same sort of colours, a bit darker at the front. Right. Blow it dry. I'm just going to get my pencil and I'm going to give the sidewalk just a bit of an edge here, all right? And
edgy stuff.
Maybe a couple of pavers in here getting wider as it comes towards us. Right. With a deep colour, brown is good, black's a bit too dark. I'm just going to put in 2 lampposts. Can you see this on there? You can.
Yep.
2 lampposts. There's my first lamppost. Okay. And here's my second lamppost. You know, where it's wet, it's obviously splaying out. You can think that that's a very fashionable local authorities flower display. Yeah. Okay, right. Get a different type of puddle, right? You could do this. You could, having done that, because they're translucent colours, decide with a bit of clean water, clean brush, to take out that puddle. I just put water on it and I've lifted it out. Can you see the difference there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but just to demonstrate this, something about reflections, I'm going to have another puddle there. That's my brown Conti pencil, which isn't transparent. So I'll do it a bit in front of that. And maybe there's another puddle back there. Right, again with my clean tissue, I'm lifting it out there.
Clever.
Right, now the thing to think about is in this, it's finished raining here.
Okay.
And what happens is the reflection of this particular pole is now on flat water. So you will get a very distinct clear line. And
Very
here,
nice.
this puddle at the back, you'll get it reflected there,
Oh,
but
like
it's also
magic.
following through on this.
Oh,
one
very
there.
nice. Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you, so in what, 2 minutes, we've gone from wet, rainy to puddles showing reflections. And then, of course, you put in your people in the background of buildings or things up there. Okay.
Brilliant.
Meanwhile,
Lovely.
that should have allowed your paper on the original to re-dry,
Yeah,
to dry fairly well.
pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, that's dryish. So now I'm going to get you to put in at the back paintbrush. Oh, it's over there. Right, clean the paintbrush. This is just going to be wet in wet. First thing we're going to do is, I haven't done it on this one. If I demonstrate it first, you might see it working. This is a fairly, I don't know whether you can see the grain on that, but it's a fairly rough piece of paper. I'm again using that Prussian blue and a touch of pink, so a little violet. I've got my flat brush, okay, and I'm going to go from left to right fairly heavily and then lighter across it. And what you should get, if your brush is, you need your paint to be fairly thick and your
Prussian blue and a touch of
red.
red.
Well, it should be red madder. Can you see on this one, a nearly dry brush is leaving white in the middle here. So I'm pressing fairly hard on one side, easing off a little bit, and then pressing hard again. Getting the consistency is a challenge. Right, hard on one side and just drag it across. Don't be tempted to stop in the middle. Okay, that's one way of doing it with a flat brush. The other way of doing it, if you've got flat paper and a round head brush, again, you want your paint fairly thick. You don't want too soppy a brush. And then you just drag it across. Okay, drag it across, lifting it up gently. So it's about the amount of pressure you put on there that you're getting this interspersed bit of white showing through. And now we're going to try it at the top of the picture. Do you feel brave? Are we going to do this?
Yes.
There's no wrong with this. So if it doesn't work, don't worry, it will still look fine. But if you can get the effect, and those of you with the rougher paper are more likely to be successful.
Are you doing it right from the top?
I'm doing it from the horizon line coming down, and I'm going to bring it down to just above this part of the rock on this side. Okay.
And that's your blue.
I'm going across there, and in fact, we're getting, and then I'm going, that's probably a bit wet. But you can do it by just dragging it and leaving gaps. Right, let me do it with the other.
And are we going to make the rock, the outcrop, quite dark? So can we go over that, or are you avoiding it?
Oh yeah, you can go over that. Yeah, you can go over it. I was just being neat.
Oh,
okay.
Not too dark.
Right.
Yeah, mine looks very dark.
Well, that's all right. It will dry off. And we're going to put something in there later on as well. All right. So even though if you look at my demonstrations of this violet here, okay, where there's more gaps and white.
My brush is too big.
If you look at up here, I can't move the camera. Maybe I could hold the board slightly higher up. Not sure how this will work, but let's have a go. But you see, it didn't quite work as well on this one, but I've still managed to get white gaps showing through up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to the bottom of the rocks?
Yeah, around the bottom of the rocks. Right.
I think I must use that blue that stains.
Okay. Talking about rocks then, have you put that, leave it down, let it settle, because we can always come back to it. Talking about rocks, pick up again your blue with your red, or your brown in it. And I want you to do rough hue rocks. So rough hue rocks, down, just squarish type. Okay, there's a rock. Okay, and you might drop another colour into it, another, you know, brown or red into it. And let's put another little outcrop here. Okay. And, you know, if you want, you can make your rock bigger, or you can, if you want it to feel as though it's got some vegetation on it, just get some clean water and run it along the top, and you'll get that bleeding going on, which I personally like. Some people do, some people don't. Okay. So that's a rock. Have you got a rock on your on your boards? Oh, Megan, have you got a rock?
Yeah.
Good. Mary, how about you?
Yeah.
You've got a rock. June? You have? And Lydia?
I've got a block.
Yeah.
Good.
Fine.
Okay. Right. And now we're going to give some more interest back up here. Right. At the back, I'm going to, you see my rubber? Right. About here, but coming out to here, I'm going to put in a very distant
Horizon.
island. So I wet the area, because that yellow should now be dry. And I'm going to take it, my wet, all the way off the edge of the page. All right? Clean water and wet. Right?
Are you just wetting that far third?
It's no, not all of it. Only the width of the rubber. You see the width of that
Oh,
rubber?
okay, but all the way across.
All up from that just off of centre, either side of centre, all the way across. I'm right-handed, so I tended to go that way. Left-handed people will tend to go the other way.
So you're not doing it all the way across, you're just doing it from the centre?
From here, can you see there, where that is on the board?
Yeah.
Over this way.
So just over in one direction?
Yeah. Okay, just in one direction. So, and while that is still wet, I want you to drop in your dark blue, right, just into that, first of all, just a random dropping in. Don't go right to the edge of where you've watered it. Or where you go off the board, you might want to. Right, then drop in a brown. Pick it up. The darkest brown you've got. Okay. And you see the front of the island there? That's where your darkest dark should be. So if your board's on a slight tilt, you're at a definite advantage for that. Okay. And then pick it, just pick out from the top to the bottom and let it bleed, and you'll get a couple of, can you see those palm trees? So again, with that one, I've just picked up my blue, the page is still wet, and I'm just putting the tip on, pulling it up, lift my paintbrush off, and it's spreading into little cauliflowers, they call them sometimes. Okay, so that's one type of tree you've got growing way over there in the palm trees. Okay, you might want to touch in, just to give it a bit of life, a little bit of another colour in at the bottom, because gradually what you want is that back bit here, this bottom line, to go really dark. And you notice in this instance, I'm not painting, I'm dabbing, I'm just tapping, because there's still water on there. Aha. It's just flooding in, and got a life of its own. You could leave a little gap there. There's a natural gap there. Okay, but note I haven't used a bit of green. There's not a bit of green in there. That's all blues and browns with that little one touch of red. What I was going to say about the glitter bit at the background, by the way, is that when the sun is directly overhead and coming down, you do get this sharp contrast of colours, the light and the dark, but you don't get shadow dragged into the water. So if anybody was been to Venice, that was where I saw that, you'll quite often get the silhouette of a building really, really dark and sparkling white water, but you won't get a reflection of the buildings in the water.
Yeah.
Right, how are we doing? Are you happy so far? You see your rocks, because this is watercolour, it's quite thin, so my rocks are fading, so I want to make them just a little bit darker on the side where the sun isn't shining. So I've dropped in some more blue, and I wasn't particular about my blue there. I've just dropped in a colour to start darkening that a bit. But I've left the top bit here soft. It's not, I haven't gone over that, I've just gone over the main bulk of it. Right. Anybody need to stop for a drink or a comfort break? Or are you happy to press on?
Press on.
Press on, okay. Here then.
Say whatever.
Right, so this particular rock, okay, we're a lot closer. The wind's starting to pick up on this coast. You know, you felt that at the seaside, different places, different wind. So we're now going to start thinking about some reflection in the water here. My way of doing it is to think, remember I've said there's a little bit of wind, so there will be some rippling. It won't be straight down, it won't be a mirror image. It'll be drag the colour and just tap it down. Leave a few gaps, tap it down, go out and in a bit. All right?
Eileen, push your picture up a little bit.
Okay.
Away
Bring
from
it to
you.
the camera, you mean?
No, away from you.
Away from me.
Tell me what you've just done there.
Right.
I must have switched off and I was looking at it all the time.
Right.
The bit you've just done from the bottom of your rocks.
Yeah. I'm just thinking for this, if I raise this up, you might see it a bit better.
No, we can see it, it's just we couldn't see the whole picture.
Okay. Does that help?
I see what you've done now, so that's quite watery.
Right. Sometimes you can leave a gap between where the cliff rock would be and the water, because that you might get a sprinkle of light there. But whatever colour you've used up here, just use it down here. The other thing about, that's one way of doing it. The other thing is that whatever you're reflecting, the shadow is normally longer than the actual item itself. So that, and it spreads out. The further away it goes, the wider those little trickles become. Okay? So I'm just picking that colour up again so that you can, and some of these I need to take out of the edge of the picture or it looks as though it's just stopped. Right, there's a second way of doing this. Okay, this is a braver way. For those who like square-headed brushes, oh, where's it gone? There. Oh, I'm at a different angle. And that is with just a little touch of water. Drag it down. Completely different type of effect. Okay.
Oh, I like
and my particular one, if we do it with this one, bring it down, and then because you can take the water off, just do a swidge through it so you get other colours. But can you see the way the colour is running? It's the right colour and it's running down. And then as it gets here, you can just sort of feather it out. Less water, and that's fine. If you think it's going to dry too light, you know, you can drop in another colour. Now, another thing to do is on this rock here, it's a bit browny, so it's all right in real life, but you probably can't see it. But look at that. You see where that, the light might be coming over the rock here and hitting this particular rock. So I'm taking the colour off there, and I'm taking the colour off in front of it. So that is reflecting that particular rock. Yeah. Now this edge is too dry, you know, it is too straight edge. So go in with some water and just rub it across, going horizontally. Okay. And as your paper dries, you know, you can bring those colours across. Okay, there it's sort of losing its colour. So again, you can continue adding colour until you're fairly comfortable with the colours that you have got in here. But now, here on this side of the picture, right, you've got a rock at the bottom, and then you've got a really dark bit above it, so another shadow. So in there, you do want to reflect some darkness out of it, because the rock is effectively this part of your shadow, and then the dark shadowed cliff edge is about here. So that's the bit that I want to strengthen with some more dark. And the further away you go, the more, oops, help if I pick some paint up on the brush, the darker it goes. Different brush. Right, try that again. Right. Would help if I picked up the same colour blue. But
No. Popcorn time.
okay. So have you started to get something like that, a feel for the
yeah,
the colours, right? Something that Megan did very well in one of her earlier pictures, she used a brush and she actually went down square and across, down square. And if you can do that subtly, you also get a really nice effect of different shades of water. So I'm just going to do a few out here just to...
Is your paper still wet, Eileen, then?
Bits of it. I'm using really inexpensive paper. I was going to say cheap, but inexpensive. So it isn't absorbed. But the whole idea is, do you remember when we started off by wetting the paper? There is still some damp in your paper.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So it won't be sopping wet, but there will be some damp still in there.
But when you did the Megan stroke there, was that just clean brush water?
It was clean brush with fresh paint, but it was diluted paint. Okay, so that's my diluted paint. Megan, you can tell me if I was wrong, but this is how I thought you got that lovely pattern.
I don't remember doing it, so...
It's down, you did it in the sky as well. It seemed to be down and across, and it just came out really... You can start to feel as though you're seeing through the water.
Probably an accident then.
Or
Still.
serendipity artists. You get something completely unique that way. Okay, and if you want a change, go up and across. But again, if you now looked at your picture from a distance, you'd actually see that as actually translucent water coming on. Okay. Right, I now want to show you very briefly. Rita, can you let me share screen or do on my laptop version?
Yeah, you can. You should have thingy now. So I'll unpin the video and choose another one.
Oh, now it's giving me options I'm not familiar with. Share screen. Right, okay, that one. Oh, share. Right.
Excellent.
Okay, just for a breather, while that's doing its thing over there, let's just have a little look at some of these things that I put together. One of the things I wanted to say,
bloody professional.
right,
Right, yeah, nothing.
is you could have used a completely different, you know, the square painting that we've just done that I attributed to Megan, yeah? This is somebody else who's used a vaguely square boxy style, but you see the way they've captured the reflection of water there?
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Different size boxes, but building out from a rainbow of colours from the yellow in the middle going out towards the blues. So that's just because I think it's fascinating that they do that.
Oh, that's
Kitty Ange isn't with us. This is a completely different style of painting, and she only does the bottom of trees reflected in water. But again, look at the colours she's used, because those aren't natural colours, but it seems to really work. And you see all the runs that are going on there. Runs work. They really help in water. So if you get a run in your water, go with it. All right. The next one, monochrome. Frances did monochromes with us last week. On black paper with white chalk, you could have a go at something like that. That would work really effectively.
Is that painting a drawing like?
It's actually a photograph, this one. But using very similar techniques of rubbing your finger across with chalk at different thicknesses of chalk, you could end up with these results. So it's just that I'm fascinated by the different ways people can do things. This one, again, it's a very rough style, but it's very effective, and that was a classic Monet one.
Monet, isn't it?
Yeah. And watch how much of, you know, the yellow stripe at the top, well, in this case it's orange, the blue undercoat through it, and then picking up different levels of blue in and out. You see how that works? Okay, the next one, this is another really famous painting. This is really a block of pink, a block of yellow, a block of blue, a little island stuck in, and an orange canoe in the middle with a bit of reflection. But as effective in terms of reflection and showing water, mainly because he's put texture in the blue. So he'd actually undercoated the whole thing in pink first, then put the blue on top, and you get the pink colour showing through.
Do you think that's watercolour, Eileen?
It isn't watercolour, but it's the same technique of how you apply the layers.
And once we let it dry in between, I think that was the big learning.
You could achieve that effect, yeah. So you could be quite modern. Right, this quick bit of information is to say that if you look at each of those colour sets, they're quite muted colours in water, all right? Sometimes it's very difficult to see the colours. If you're looking at the big peak wave, you know, where the darks are, where the lights are, it's very difficult. So sometimes it really helps to do a colour swatch before you start and stick to your colours. You can mix them and get some other lovely alternatives, but that's worth doing. The middle one is just a nice range of subtle colours there. And the end one, again, it was just that I thought that captures a real reflective light, that particular thing.
Yeah.
Right, next one. Who recognises that?
Oh, canvas end.
Yes, and who recognises who these stars are?
Edie and Ben.
Edie and Ben.
And that was only last weekend or so, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. But again, what I've done is I've just picked out at the side and I tried to line them up. And this wasn't on PowerPoint even, so the colour match isn't wonderful. But that's an idea of the range of colours you would use. Okay, so they're very close together. So it's quite often starting with one colour and mixing in other colours to it. It isn't a completely different end of the rainbow type of thing.
Seeing it like that, Eileen, what a beautifully art-directed shot with the yellow shots and the yellow...
Yes, with just the yellow highlights, the zing colours or the bing colours, yes. Okay, whoa, that's the wrong thing. Okay, next one, going the wrong way. Another classic way to paint waves. We're going to be looking at waves more in a minute. what I wanted you to think about before we got to paint waves was the curly ends of the waves as they break, okay? And the fact that the water sweeps up and there is an actual curve through the whole thing, all right? Who's that? I don't know. Again, a muted range of colours there. Kathleen is there almost in silhouette, okay? And in fact, Calpe Rock is in silhouette there as well. So, you know, that should be one everybody should have a go at, I think, personally. Kathleen, ripples.
They're nice, aren't they?
Now, yeah, this was a very good photo, Kathleen, as well. He's beautiful. But you can see the puddles, our ripples. If you elongated our ovals even more, you start to get this effect of ripples and oily water. Okay? There's our puddles.
Oh, that's a lovely photo, that one of the puddles.
That's the puddles. Okay. This is the shot I was thinking of how you, if you look, this is going into Venice. This is the glistening water.
Rita, sorry, Schiffer wants to come in.
Oh, and are we not letting her?
Yeah, it's in the waiting room.
Not on there. Okay.
So the so with this one, it was that you don't get the reflections in the water. Even you'll see some on the photo that's on my left here. There are 3 little things on the horizon line. Even those don't have reflections in the water because the sun is from directly overhead. Okay. Last one. This is one of Angie's favourites, one of my favourites as well. And it's just a way of, if those stripes weren't going horizontally through the water, that painting could be quite boring. But they've just taken all of the detail out of those stripes that are going across the water. So it's another way of thinking. If you get to the point in a painting and you're thinking, oh, this hasn't worked, there are still things you could do to alter it. You could alter the focus completely by putting those lines in. Now, this is what I was trying to get us to. Is Schiffer in yet, by the way?
Wait a minute. No, can we put, I'm going to pause the...
Yes.
Good. All right. So this was one of Rita's photos from a couple of years ago. And at the top of the photo here, you've got the glistening water because it's, you've got the silhouette of the land at the back, no reflection, glittering water here. Midsection we haven't yet done on our pictures, so we will have a go at this. But if you look, they're horizontal lines with a little variation in. So we'll be doing a few of them and I'll show you a nice way to do them in a bit. But closer to, in the boat area here, you'll actually find, if I go on to the next slide, that this is this area I'm focusing on. I've enlarged it over here. All of these shapes are curvy, interlocking, Francis, acrylic flow colour shapes is what I would describe them as. Bubbles and oil spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting. And the exercise that I did to actually understand that was I overlaid a piece of plastic and went in with some coloured pens and had a look to see what shapes actually emerged. And that's what I came up with. All right.
Wow. Wow.
So it's pretty random. Nobody would ever know if you got it wrong because they just change all the time. All right. There is some definite movement going on here, though. I've put yellow in as a highlight at the back here because that's where the sun actually hit it. The red was actually white. The white outlines of where the sun was hitting the top of the wave, these zigzaggy things, were actually white, but you couldn't get that on the screen the way I was doing it. So we had red. And these are just other rounded shapes that are there, some with like poached eggs, okay. But the other thing to notice is they're big shapes here at the front, getting smaller as you go back, and then they start to get less rounded when you're at the up here at the top, okay. Right.
Brilliant.
Okay. So your next task, guess what? Do you want an easy task or a hard task? That's just to calm you down, that calm one. Monochrome, icebergs. Okay.
What colour are polar bears?
What might be a polar bear lying on its side?
Black,
and
yeah.
the fur is white.
Okay. Rita, I can stop sharing screen on this one now if you want to go back to the other. How's your paper doing? Is it sort of drying off?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just before we leave it for another minute, I'm going to, if I could see where I'd left the brush, this area here has dried out and it's gone very pale. All right, so I'm just going to pick up the last blue that I had. If I could, you can see me on the other screen looking to say, what on earth? Oh, it's at the side here.
You're just picking up what, Eileen?
I'm just picking up the original blue that I had, the Prussian blue.
Okay.
Yeah, the one we did the undercoat.
Yeah, I have to remember which one it was I used.
Yeah, I've got it quite watered down, and I'm just going to call it the Megan strokes. Okay, a few down.
Megan, you're famous now.
And a few across, all right? Just very lightly in a very thin, very, very thin, watered down.
It's so thin, Eileen, and very incredibly subtle on screen.
Yes.
But we saw where your brush went. No.
It is,
great.
yeah. I'm sorry, it's that, well, maybe if I change...
No, it's great. I'm just saying it because, of course, watercolour is more subtle than perhaps oil.
Yeah, you will get it. I'm putting a little bit more colour in just so that you can actually... Woo! Well, that's the problem with Prussian blue. You can go too far. But so, if I did that, I can water it out a bit, okay? And I'm just going to put blue in the rock above it to explain why.
Ah, very clever.
To explain why I've got that blue in the water.
I bet you planned that mistake just to demonstrate that.
Yeah, that worked perfectly. Okay, there we go.
So you went down and across. Do that down and across again.
Okay, so with this one, with this particular rock, down and across.
And across.
Down and across.
It's
moving around all over the place. Okay. And the other thing, that, of course, that I can do, that is still going to tie, you know, fairly heavily. I could just take out a little bit. You see that? Just dabbed out that little bit while it's still wet. It might look nicer if I had a straight line across there. So with a clean brush, I could just put in a straight line across there to pick up that reflection. Straight line. Okay, and I quite like a little bit of reflection through here, so I'm just seeing whether I can pick that up.
What's quite interesting there, Eileen, because you started off with the lovely black line so we could see it,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what you would have at where the water's hitting the rock. Do you see that lovely black outline? Because you know I like black outlines. But what would you have there? Would it just, is there going to be any stronger bit?
Oh, actually, what I tried to show you is two things. One is here, I just dragged the rock colour straight through.
Oh, to break it.
Well, so there isn't a break, you wouldn't see it. They'd be the same colour.
Eileen, can you see, can I show you mine?
Yes.
Just wherever it is. I don't know where.
Oh, like it. Yeah.
No, but do you see what I mean about it's just blurred?
Wet it. Yeah.
All of this is just a blur. There's no edge to the rock. There's no bottom.
Because you haven't yet got enough contrast, enough similarity between the colour of your rocks and what's in the water. You do need that to be quite a bit darker. Not as dark as the actual rocks, but quite a bit darker.
Okay.
So you try almost not to see where the rock and the water join.
We'll just carry it on through. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I've gone for red this time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Right, and I think I liked red in that one, so I'm going to put a bit of red in that rock too. And I've done what I said to Rita there. I put red in that rock and pulled it into the water.
Yeah, I thought I'd want more of a distinction, not less. I want less.
Okay. I'm also, because I'm sort of not watching, this edge is getting hard, so I need to put some water on it. So I'm just putting clean water on, sort of across where the edges would be, and getting it to bleed out a little bit more, because I don't particularly want those to be hard edges. Okay.
My leave for today, but I'll follow the recording later on in the week and finish off mine.
All right, Megan. Thank you very much for being here, though.
Nice to see you, Megan.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Megan.
Right. Oh, and look what I did over here. That will come clean in the wash, as they say. Okay. Now, I'm going to demonstrate the next one. I was going to do it as a little mini thing, but I'm going to do it straight as a... We need to put the... I'm just thinking this through a little bit. Okay, right. I'm going to suddenly put in a rock there. Did you see
Eileen,
that?
you need to move your screen.
Oh, it's me. I have unpinned, if that, you were looking at mine.
Let me now move that down a bit.
Is that better, friend?
Is that better?
Have you just added that rock?
I've just added that, just this second.
Cheeky.
Again, you can do
We
that.
weren't watching.
And again, the same colours that you used over here, blue and red to make a brown, and just fill it in at the minute. Just put any colour in there at the minute, just to identify that you've got some rocks there. Rocks on this particular seashore probably have a, ooh, every colour but purple, probably have a diagonal sort of feel.
Yeah, if it was an Irish coastline, it would be a basalt type.
Okay.
Great.
Right, and what I shouldn't have done is I shouldn't personally have put that. I'm just going to get rid of that Conti pencil, but on the same way that we did with talking to Rita just a minute ago, pulling it down and pulling it across.
And is this purposefully lighter?
It's slightly lighter, but you can have loads of darks in it as you build it up, because over time you would just go back in with different layers of different colour to make it quite dark. Remember, the light is coming from up here somewhere, so you'd want that to be quite dark. What I wanted to do, and this is where if you've got a bit of tape, or if your paper is now dry, you could use, what else could we use? Where's the gum? Right, at the front here, get your, ooh, mine's very sticky gum. Ugh. Oh. And back of a brush, I'm going to put in at the foreground a little bit of peaks and troughs. Just
using white, so that when you paint over it, you can just rub that off afterwards.
yeah, it will come out a lot whiter. So my action is going to be always on a curve, but just going over a bit. I just want to get a feeling of some light trickling through here. I'm not, if you can see, I'm just doing sort of huge Y's or X's, and I don't want any two to look alike. And then along the front of this, you know, the bottom border where we put the sand edge, put in a load of little dots of different sizes with your...
So we need gum Arabic or something. What was the other thing?
It's masking fluid.
Masking fluid. Okay.
And if you haven't got that, then you go in.
If you haven't got that, you can come back in and do it with white chalk later, or you can get a masking tape and
I'll put in the C. Did you do it all the way across? Just before.
No. What, the masking fluid?
Yeah.
No, I just did X's and Y's from where the...
Eileen, just rub your finger along where you put it.
From here downwards. Here down.
And lots of it.
No.
Just one line.
Yep, hang on. Let me get that up a bit. Francis, can you see where it is?
Yeah.
Can you see where it is
So
now?
relatively wide then.
Where the yellow stuff is, Kathleen.
Where the yellow stuff is
yeah. So it's relatively deep then. It's about
half an inch at the most.
Eileen,
Yes.
show your beach line to the camera as well.
Right, beach line. I can't quite get it close enough to the wall.
Yeah, you
That's
can.
Good.
That's fine.
We can see that little blob.
Fine.
Yes,
Yeah,
the little blobs by the beach line.
Little blobs.
So gum arabic's the yellowy stuff.
No,
No, it's masking fluid.
masking fluid, not
No,
gum
this
arabic.
is. Oh, you don't mean gum arabic. I'll put that away then.
You said gum arabic. We said masking fluid.
Oh, okay.
I haven't played with gum arabic, so I don't know the answer. It might be the same thing.
That's a watercolor medium, and so is
No, it's not.
colorless art
It's not.
masking.
It's not the same thing.
I know it's not the same. I'm just saying it is.
Use
That's what it says
gum
on it.
arabic. If you use gum arabic instead of water, it gives a slight sheen to your picture.
Oh, it controls the spread of wet colour, reduces staining, slows drying, and dilute with water as required. Ooh.
Right. Another trick. Roughly tear a piece of masking tape, and it can give you the top or the bottom edge of a wave, and just put it on.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Eileen, do you know when we started, we made the bottom of the picture darker blue?
Yes.
Yours doesn't seem to be any darker, and then we're putting the thingy on, but it won't be white underneath, will it? It'll be blue, but different
But
shape.
it will be a lot lighter blue. It doesn't need to be white. In fact, very few things are pure white.
I can't see what the masking tape at all. Are you just doing odd shapes of masking tape?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along where there could be a little wave line.
Okay, sort of, yeah, all right, I think.
Okay.
If I can find where my masking tape
Okay. A wave line. Wouldn't be wonderful doing it on there. While you're painting there, let me.
You see, you have an advantage, Eileen. You can just walk to the bottom of the garden and have a look at them.
Okay, I'm going to do this very quickly to show you how a stronger wave would be painted. Okay?
Okay.
There's my outline. I'm using my pencil again. There's my horizon. There's my, whatever they are. There's a lighthouse. There's a boat. Right, here, I'm taking a wobbly line for a walk across the page. So that's below halfway, but above a third. I'm taking a second line and I'm coming up towards it, and then I'm wiggling down. That's the wave breaking towards you. But then I'm crossing above the line and coming down. So that's an upward coming wave that hasn't yet broken. Same again, bringing it down here, which is the wave breaking, and then above the line where it isn't breaking. All right, and then down here is the backwash. Right.
Eileen, while you've got that very distinct, see the masking tape, I'm not sure about because I've torn some off and it's got a very straight bottom and a jagged top. Is that, or should it have a jagged top and bottom?
You can, when you've painted round it and gone back in, you can alter the shape of the bottom because the watercolour paint will shift slightly, so it won't always be jagged. Or you could have two pieces of tape and have both of the flat edges together so that your top and bottom edge are ragged.
Or I can just tear off the bottom edge.
Yeah.
Right. Is it a bit like the square sheep?
But I thought my sheep were too square. I think I should have done some more tearing with the sheep.
That's why I inquired.
Okay. And so back on the main thing, my masking tape is sort of, masking fluid is drying away and my tape is in there.
How many bits of masking tape do we need to add?
3, 4 inch long ones. I don't know what size paper you're working on.
At different levels?
Oh no, I happen to have put mine around where a wave would break, which would be with the first line of rocks.
Okay.
Oh, that's a technicality I missed. Okie dokie.
No, that's just luck. And in fact, I can see that I do need another piece somewhere over here somewhere, so I'm just going to, for the sake of it, stick that bit on there. Right. But Megan, when she's watching this, she might be interested, because she was saying, how do you get a wave to look like a wave? And the answer, do everything we've done above the line, you know, up to the horizon, you've got that. Then you do the midsection, just do horizontal lines, that would do it. But just behind your breaking wave,
it's quite dark.
Water, yeah, that's what you want. You want it to be dark. So you put your water and you flood that with your colour, with your a dark blue. Prussian blue works. Okay, there's your dark blue. I'm doing this in cartridge paper, which is a bit of an odd choice, really. But just for the sake of and there we got some bits going on in the water there. Right, that's that bit filled in. The second bit is you're going to leave most of those bits white, okay? But again, the darkest bit of the wave is where shadow is being cast, so it's under the crest, under the where it's broken, sorry, around there, okay? But where the unbroken wave is just coming up, there won't be shadow there, so don't do it in that peak or in this one here, anything above the line. Just the ones that are coming down below the line. Do that if you were doing it. Right. The other thing then to remember is that waves have shape, and that once they've broken, they normally leave some foam behind. So here, you want the direction of your wave coming in by bringing your wave shape. It comes up and over.
Ah, that's
so
excellent.
take your brush up and over, up and over, up, okay. And I should cheat and take this out. I'm not going to. And just bring that so that it's wateryness at the bottom. Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, and that's, I'm just making that a bit darker. And under here, well, that needs to be dark. If that's a dropping your colours in. But you get the idea, your brush stroke follows the action of the wave. To make it then look a little bit more like the sun is catching it, sorry that my brown pencil that I did my outline is showing. I'm taking a yellow and dropping it in here, into the
crest.
I'm exaggerating my colour here so that you can see it. And here, because the top of the wave is going to pick up some light. Okay, now later on you could come back in and you could actually go around the top of this in a white, and you could drop spots around it and it would work. Errors are always good, so that one in the background, I'm just taking that yellow through. Okay, but even, and down here, this bit, you know, Kathleen, I was saying about the X's for trees. Try X's and Y's in the water as well to get where the water is coming in at different angles closer to the shore. Okay?
Yeah, you make it look easy, Eileen. I'm just...
but you should, this type of no detail one is a good one to practice when you've got 5 minutes to spare. Main thing, take a line for a walk, take the second line through it and have some interesting peaks and troughs in it. Everything below that line is white foam. Everything above is foam that hasn't yet come through. All right? Then you just remember the colour of the action of the water, getting flatter as you come towards the front here. And that's, the two lines here represents the start of the built up foam that's at the edge, and then this is the real sandy edge.
Brilliant.
So that one down here will be that yellowy, whatever colour it was I used to start with. I think it was. Okay, so that's how that one would work. So that's going to be one of your other little tiny pieces of paper exercise for later.
Okay.
Right. Okay, back on, because we want to get this one finished, don't we? Right, so two things we want to put on here. First one, taking a blue or a dark colour. Do you remember the oily water with the ziggy-zaggy, these ones, those shapes? remember those shapes? On
Yeah, the ones you drew, yeah.
Rita was, wherever.
Yeah.
Just put in some of them there at off different odd angles. And the bit I want you to fill in is that between the rock, my brush, and to just halfway, just over halfway, or just less than halfway, up to you. And do it in a variety of blues, okay? But don't come below the rock. Stay above the rock, because this is where you're going out into the open sea. Okay, and my masking tape is there.
And you're just carrying on over your masking fluid?
Yeah, I just carried on there over my masking tape, and it will come true later. Okay, that's probably enough to give a flavour. Now that the masking tape is there, if you wanted to do, you know, Rita, you said this bit was actually, on mine, gone quite light. Yeah. I put fresh water over it. Okay, I'm joining it up to where the other bit is, and then I just add in a little bit more blue to give it a little bit more of that depth at the front. Because like in lots of pictures, you know, your detail and your depth comes at the front. Okay, so that's about there. All right. We have to wait for this to dry before we can do the next thing. But while you're there, you see this front edge here?
Yeah.
Where the sand is. This is where I want you to speckle. It sometimes helps to cover up this bit, like with your cloth, and just speckle. Flick some paint to make sand.
So browns and...
The sand itself is very pale yellow at the moment. Is that okay? Doesn't it need to be darker?
You could make it darker if you wanted, or later on when it's dry, I would tend to go in with a wash later on.
Okay, so sparkle first.
Yeah.
With
So
what colour?
your rocks, I've put, your rocks, your stones at the edge in the sand are going to be a mixture of all the colours of the rainbow, really. They are still predominantly yellowy brown, grey.
I started off with orange.
Okay, but actually the light background will help. Orange, I'm going for my orange. Kathleen's
What's the best sort of brush to use? Is it like a fan or something to get the... like this?
The one I'm using, how come I can't get that into angle? That's the one I'm using, Rita. Big mop head. You could, some people use a toothbrush.
What about this, Eileen?
How are you going to make it flick?
Like this?
Yeah, you're going to get your fingers dirty, but go ahead.
Oh, is there a way of doing it without getting your fingers dirty?
Yeah.
Oh.
Here, look, Rita.
How do you flick?
Put your fingers underneath the brush and tap your brush down.
I see, and that's why you're getting bigger blobs than I was.
Yeah. Okay, and I've gone for bright purple in here now. I don't know where I picked that one up from.
Oh, look, I've got now bubbles all over the sea as well, doing it that way.
That's all right.
I
Don't
think
worry about that because you get colours picked up in the sea. Look, I've got a bright pink one here. I've got, oh, it's a jellyfish. It's a jellyfish. Okay. Right. Next colour. You see in this bit here, so from below where you've put your rubberized fluid and your masking tape, yeah, in there you want a mixture of, right, this is yellow. Can you see how quickly I put that on? Not a lot of care in the world with that one. And again, that Prussian blue.
Oh, so that's more masking fluid, eh?
Oh, bugger.
Okay.
Eileen?
Yeah.
That yellow stuff now is more masking fluid, is it?
No,
that's yellow paint.
That was yellow paint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But not lemon yellow. Was it the Cambion again?
It was lemon yellow. I used lemon yellow.
I'm never sure what you mean by lemon yellow, but never mind.
Lemon yellow is the really acidic one, finish looking, but very strong.
This is
Oh, that really helps.
If I hold it up to the camera, Kathleen, that one's the lemon yellow. Whoa, where's it going? That one's the lemon yellow.
I guess, okay, this one in the corner, if I hold that up to the camera, can you see?
Up a bit, up a bit, up a bit, up, in. Yes.
Yeah,
one nearest the side.
The one nearest to the side. Yeah, and I just paint that.
Like,
let me have a look where you painted it. Just over to the rock.
Yeah, over to the rock. And I just put in yellow first, going over where we put in the masking fluid. Okay, I'll just do a little bit more to, there's my yellow going more of it in. Okay, and then I just put in touches of.
And you've got that quite watery, haven't you, by the looks of it?
Yeah, I've used quite a lot of water, but quite a lot of pigment as well. And what I haven't done is I haven't brought the water all the way to the edge of the foam. I've left some of it white. Is that me? Oh, it is. Oh, no.
I'll pause the recording for a second.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've got yellow in.
Okay. And then you put your Prussian blue or whatever blue you were using in on it.
And then more blue in.
That's how I've got that effect. Light shining through the water at the edge. Right. Oh, what was that?
Some of the phone's running out.
It's the 15%. Okay, this is going to be a quick finish on the demo because right. Have you all got something in at the bottom here that looks like a coastal edge of the sand, then a foamy sort of strip because there's no colour on it, and then you've got that bluey green water.
Yeah. Ish.
Okay.
Yeah, nearly.
Okay. You've still got your masking tape and your masking fluid. All right.
Yeah.
Like if you're like me, you've got spots all over the place. You know,
Yeah.
that just haven't merged. Right. So we're now going to do. Right, it's best done with a flathead brush, but you could use whatever you like. Right, I'm going in the same blue that you originally used. That's over there. And over this side, if I use a pencil to show you what I'm trying to get. So we've got something at the back, we've got some shadows going on over here, we've got a lot of movement at the front here in this water. We're going to have a little bit of wave cresting here in it, if we're lucky. But in this bit, we still want to give it a little bit more movement, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put in some ripples, and I'll show you the how, across here, across here, across here, across here. And the ripples will be heavier at the front, getting smaller as you go back. So I've got my flathead brush, okay, I've got my Prussian blue, and across here, I'm just going to do a squiggle like that.
Have you just changed brushes? That looks so much tinier.
Yes, I went to a small square head brush.
Let's see what I've got.
Okay, it doesn't need to be that, but for me it just happens to.
If I happen to have one.
Yeah, it could be a different brush. It could be, okay, I'll pick up a different brush. This is my thin rigger brush. It could be.
And you're only doing it over there at the edge?
And
around the masking tape?
It happens to go around the masking tape because masking tape is there, but not, you know, no other reason than.
I'm not sure if they do the action again. You put it across and down or what?
Hang on, let me dab that off and I'll do it again. Right. You want a slightly diagonal and twist your brush as you go so that your ripple has different shapes in it.
Oh, so it's a ripple coming in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they gradually get thinner as they go out, and they come closer together. Okay. So can you see that as a ripple? Can you?
Yeah.
You see, and I've not done many. I've only covered about 1.5 inches all total with 4 or 5 things.
Probably done a few too many then.
Okay. And then, are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, what I'm going to go back in now and do is some finishing off. All right?
Yeah.
So your finishing off is going to be, you see your tree line at the back up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might actually want to just put in a few more bits of definition in there, just something of interest back in that skyline. And maybe, you see on this horizon, a little tiny hint of other little islands out past it.
What about our sky? Are we doing anything with the sky?
No, your sky's going to stay as it is.
Oh,
It
okay.
actually looks all right, Sky.
Well, it would if you followed Eileen's instructions, but I started yellow at the top and she said just do it on the horizon, so I might need to put a bit.
I started at the top, but it worked.
We can look and see whether there's anything that you want to do a fix on. For me, I'm just adding a little bit of, just odd little bits of colour and detail, nothing particular of shape. Right, with the rocks on the side here, I just want to confirm that they're rocks, so I'm just putting in a dark grey black, just some shapes. Can you see that? I'm just making sure that there are some squares and semi-round things coming out. Yeah. Okay, that's a bit dark. And this is where, if I decide I'm having a dark here, between those 2 rocks, this is where I might decide, this is a good point to just bring it down into the water again, and then go across. Okay? So that's darkening it as you go. This little rock here, I keep putting purple on it. I don't mind, it's because it's next to my brown. Right, browny, purple, black. In fact, that should be dark in there. You can make your rocks. Right, and again, just so you got it, water it, bring it down, and bring it across. Okay. Right.
I mean, you're
Now,
really knackered, I am, and I'm just following you.
one of the other ones to do is, because you've got a horizon, a line here at the bottom of your cliff and under this little moundy thing at the side, you want to hint that there's light hitting that corner. So you can just in here put just a gentle set of a few lines and bring it back across in front of the rock.
Do that again.
Yeah, so out from this little rock,
Yeah.
come out and put a line that carries it on.
Oh, yeah. No, I've done
And what
that.
you're actually getting is in the middle, you're getting light. And then bring it back in front of the rock, but don't have it continuous. Carry the line on horizontally, but break the line up. Okay. And then in this bit, because here you've got a complete blank, haven't you? In this area. On the halfway up the right-hand side, you've got nothing going on there. You just want a hint of a few ripples. Just a hint. Okay. And because of the way I happen to paint the top, I'm not touching the top at all. I'm a little bit, I'd like that to be a little less obvious, but it's not going to come off because it's quite a permanent colour, purple. Okay, so, and there you have it. This rock here, remember, I'll keep going back in and I'll be darkening that now until midnight maybe. Just to give it a few more shapes.
My picture is very interesting.
Wow, well, this is good. We're going to be looking at that in a minute.
Or not. I take the edges off and take the masking tape off.
Okay. Right, for those of you who are still interested, you see this rock at this side, right? on the right-hand side from as I'm painting.
Yeah.
It stops flat in the water. Rita, again, particularly for you, put a line of water underneath it. You see where I'm putting clean water at the bottom?
Yeah.
Then just bring it up to meet the edge and let it run in there.
Okay.
So you get a soft edge, but what you're actually getting then is you're going to be getting the, I'm just encouraging it a bit here, you're getting the water under, the rock under the water. You know?
Okay.
Okay, and then as that dries, do that down the cross stroke with it. Okay, just make sure that looks like there's something there.
Ah, interesting.
Right, what's that? I'm going down and across now with this particular one.
Lydia and June aren't talking to us much.
Tired.
Concentrate. Right. Now, that's probably the thing will go out in a minute, the battery on my gadget. I might just move it. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
Oh, do I need to unpin then? Which one's going?
It's the one that's pinned.
Okay. Well, we can see you in the other one anyway. You can just hold it up to us.
Now, if I switch my adapters around, I might be able to do this.
I'll pause record.
Right. Okay. So we've got our little rock going over in the corner here, which I pulled the colours down and across to see both of reflection, but also that the rock actually carries on under the water. And I might just, you know, the other thing you can do is if you want a little bit of light and shade in your rock, wet it and dab it out. Like that top would catch the light, wet it and dab it out. Okay, you've got a bit of light and shade going on in here as well. Right. Along the edge at the bottom here, if you'd only done it in pencil, can I just draw your attention to, I've got a solid line along here. And if you were doing it without a pencil mark under there, you'd have an interrupted pencil line. So you'd have a dark, you have dark under the line like that, and then have a few gaps, and then a bit again, and then a gap, and then you know, so that you get a difference. And Kathleen said, what about wet sand? Or she might not have, but that's where I'd indicate this, is I would just drag in some wet sand areas.
Eileen, what I want to know is, I've been following you along, and the colours in your water are completely different from mine and look far more like water.
But it's probably getting used to your paints and how light and dark they come up.
But that looks really good, Eileen.
Okay, the bit we didn't do is the bit that I demonstrated here, which was this how to do a wave. When this is dry enough, I peel that off and I will darken behind the wave and in front of it a little bit. Okay, but in this picture you wouldn't have very big waves. You'd only have little waves.
You should have told that earlier.
I did at the very beginning, because I said there's a very different way of doing it.
I just should have been listening more intently.
Right, because my paint is still wet, pulling off my masking tape is also taking a little bit of the paper off, which in this instance I'm happy with. Okay,
so I love the fact yours is white at the top and mine's blue. And I've got the yellow sky.
I've got a yellow sky, Rita, I did the same as you.
I love the curly water, but now I've got to take these things off. I think I'm going to take a photo before I take them off, because it looks nice at the moment.
What about, have you all got gouache white?
Yeah.
Okay. This is where, again, I would normally wait for the paint to dry. But that up and down line, I would probably put a little
gouache on it.
Yeah.
Which up and down line?
You see here,
Where you had your masking tape?
Yeah. Okay, and around it, just to get that wiggly woggly effect. And at the edge of your stone in the water, just create a little bit of sparkle by just dabbing on a few little tiny bits.
Eileen, have you taken all your fluid off now then?
No, I haven't taken any of the fluid off. I've only taken the masking tape. Okay. And up here, you know, the island up here, you can put a little touch of white along there. If there's any areas you wanted to particularly lighten.
And Eileen, why haven't you taken your fluid off yet?
Because you should really wait until it dries, but it might rip the paper.
All right.
But you know, you don't need to. And I like a little bit of light on the top of my rocks over here, so I'm just putting in my gouache white, and that will make it a bit more of a grey colour. Okay. Right, if you want, you can also have white spots around your. You see that wave area here?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was.
Oh, I think that's for in.
If I can't have full waves, I might have just little breaking bits. And certainly along this foam area at the front, I would definitely want to put some more flicked on spots of white. Okay. You can have one or two out here, but with those, once I've spotted them on, because it gives me some randomness, because I'm not in control, I would just wash those out now as horizontal lines. Okay, and over here, in this area, if you weren't, if you thought, well, actually that's gone a bit flat, you could just do one or two to just pick up the odd. And again, with all of these watery strokes, it's trying not to repeat exactly the same pattern. It is about, you know, put your brush on, take your brush off, and then do it a different way further down. And then in these swirly, the oily water bits here, another little bits of white, because the white will definitely be picked up in there. Okay. It's quite a surreal sort of water.
Maybe I've got a suggestion for next week. Maybe we all get together again and do our own painting with Eileen's support in, you know, questioning her.
Yeah, we could do it that way. Right, I'm going to try and take some of my, oh look, here comes off my, now you see that I was using my finger to take off the rubberized thing then. That's okay, but you can leave a lot of your finger oil on it. So it is better to take it off using a rubber, an eraser. Also, yes, even that isn't really dry. But, oh, look, I've taken some paper. That's not too bad. Right, and down here. Right. If you're using gouache or acrylic to do the whiting, do make sure to wash your brush out or stand it in water straight away so that you don't ruin the bristles. Right, I'm now going to pull my tape off.
Oh no! Before I took the thing off, I was meant to make it dark blue behind the white, wasn't I? Before I
you can still do that. And you can still do it, especially later on when it's really dry.
Okay.
And a nice way of doing that is turn your board upside down.
Oh, so it runs away.
Get the run up and it variegated, and then turn it back up the other way and let the colours drain down again.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, there's still some more masking tape on here that's too wet to take off. But so we did glitter, we did puddles, we did ripples, we did waves, we did oily water, we did sand, we did reflections in water, we did rocks. I think you've done loads today. You should all sleep well tonight.
You should, Eileen. That's fantastic.
Thank
When
you.
you say we all did that, perhaps you should look at all our paintings before you do something.
I do want to see how you
I certainly watched it all.
work. Hang on, let me do
I
this.
certainly learned a lot.
All these
What it's
ones
about.
on screen. Right, and it's, oh, that's an interesting thing. Right, how do I get you, who's going to go first? Who's going to show them?
I've put mine on WhatsApp.
Oh, Kathy.
Oh,
I can't see her.
Wait a minute, I need to unpin or
Oh,
something. don't I?
yeah, stop. You could stop the broadcasting. That's
How do you
finished.
pin? I can't get it to work now.